The following content is sponsored and does not necessarily reflect the views of WATD Radio. Now, Paul Ponders on 95.9 WATD. Be a part of the show. Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's your host, Paul Solano.
Thank you, Rob Hackler. This is actually Dave Boyle, who is filling in for Paul Ponders. So greetings, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for listening to the Paul Ponders Show on WATD, presented by Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus, where they have fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors. And I still think that's one of the funniest slogans I've ever heard. Again, my name is Dave Boyle. I am filling in for Paul Solano. Paul is working on a fundraiser today with the Boston Bruins Alumni Association, and we'll be back next Saturday. He gets to rub elbows with the big shots. Paul wears another hat as general manager of the Pearl Street Station restaurant in Malden. He always gives a huge shout-out to Chef Felipe Fitzpatrick and his culinary team. So, Chef Felipe, thank you for being a loyal listener through the Odyssey app. We truly appreciate that. I actually do have an in-studio guest with me, an old friend of mine and my brother's. I would say, Marty, you wear many hats. You're a lawyer. You've been a law professor. You've been a basketball coach. First guy to teach sports law. College coach. There we go. So please say hello to my good friend, Marty Moran.
Hey, Dave.
Yep.
Great to be here.
It was a lot of fun to have you. That we had talked about doing this show, and I keep teasing Marty. We've been doing this for probably a week or two, going back and forth of how do we do this? How does this happen? And I said, it just kind of flows. It'll be the fastest hour you ever do. It is so much fun. I always do. I have to give a couple of shout-outs. Mike in Norwell, I love you, my friend. I know you listen every week. To my wonderful executive assistant, Corey, thank you for all you do. And to your boys, Will and Johnny B., who I know are listening, so thank you. To Dan and Zook, believe it or not, I have what I call the second part of my life where I do private security, and Dan and Zook, or I call them my bomb dogs. Dan's the trainer, Zook is the dog, of course. So that's half the fun. To my good friend Peter Brown, I've got to give a shout-out Christine James, in the group from Tech did an amazing event the other night. It was incredible. I know how much money they made, but it was a little bit of a who's who. Sheriff McDonald was there. DA Tim Cruz was there. Representative Kathy Lenatra was there. Senator O'Connor. And I know I'm going to miss somebody, and you always get in trouble when you start to read off names, so that always makes it a bit of a challenge. Yes, I did. We talked about the event I was doing for my wife a couple weeks ago. Again, amazing. Over 200 people at Peter Brown's Tiny and Sons showroom in the back there.
Which I understand was a huge success, Dave.
Marty, unbelievable. I didn't know I had that many friends, so that's half the fun. And I got to give a shout-out, believe it or not. A friend of mine hit $1 million on a lottery ticket, and I just saw his picture on the website. So I said, he's my new rich friend. So, Adam, be careful. Your friends are going to come looking for you. That's half the fun. And we're going to interview a young man later on that I'm really excited about, who wrote a book. He's a young man from Kingston. I work with his dad, John Curley, out of Kingston. I think John moved to Plymouth, though, the more I think of it now. I've known John for over 35 years, just a great guy, and I'm so excited to interview his son. Marty, tell me a little bit of yourself. I know you've got two beautiful daughters, a lovely wife.
I feel very blessed, Dave, to have my two beautiful daughters, Karen and Kaylee, and my wife, Susan. And it's probably the greatest accomplishment of my life.
Oh.
So, and been looking forward to doing this with you for a while, as we've been friends for a long time, and it's just figured I'd hang out and see what's going on and contribute when I can.
It's always fun to do this once, and I almost was neglectful. I have to give the shout-out to the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the glass. Tim, thank you as always for being here.
Oh, you're welcome, Paul. Glad to be here. Welcome aboard, Marty.
Well,
thank you, Tim.
I was telling Tim he's wearing a motorsports shirt.
Miles on Motorsports.
Miles on Motorsports,
yes.
One of our shows here. I am going to get you an FPS security shirt.
I love it.
You'll be very proud to wear it.
Yes.
Just be careful. You might make an enemy or two, so you got to be careful there. So that's a heck of a lot of fun.
Is there any place in Massachusetts I shouldn't wear it? Let's put it that way.
Probably into any bar, arena. No, kidding.
I don't really go to those much, so I should be okay.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But no, again, giving my boys a shout out, I'm going to have 55 guys working right near the finish line of the marathon.
All right.
So we're pretty excited about that. And someone said, "Well, I see you." I said, "I hope you don't."
Right.
I said, if you see security, that's not a good sign.
Right.
So hopefully nothing will happen, no bad transgressions, and we're going to have, again, this is marathon week. This is just, there's nothing better than, baseball at Fenway Park at 11 o'clock on a Monday morning. The crowd lets out as the runners are coming in. It's just a great day. I mean, the excitement, if you go into the city,
sure,
you can't get a reservation in the North End. You can't get a reservation anywhere. So, but it's a heck of a lot of fun. So I got to make sure I keep track of everything we get to do here. This is the fun part of this, with the show. Again, a little background on me. So someone said, "Are you the same guy?" Yes, I am the chairman of the Pembroke School Committee. Someone asked me if I was that same person. I said, yes, that's me. Hopefully very soon to be on the Recreation Commission. So that'll be, again, it's fun for me. I absolutely enjoy it. And again, Season 2, Show 19 for Paul Ponders in the slot of The Boiling Point, my brother Arthur's old show. Arthur is actually the executive consultant for Paul Ponders' radio show, and I'm sure my brother is listening, so Arthur, Marty, and I both say hello to you. How are we doing here? We're going to be tracking down Shelley Wolf. That's the fun part of this thing. Again, we'll have what they call the Techie Toolbox segment with Techie Tralonzo Amos and Michelle Wolf. Marty, you will find this woman absolutely fascinating. Global media firm owner of Toolbox Entertainment, vice president of technology literacy for PodPro, a past Paul Ponders podcast guest. She's amazing. She's one of those people when she starts telling you stuff, you never realize how much you didn't know. Again, I'm very non-tech savvy. Again, I give a shout out to my assistant, Corey. Corey makes me look good because I'm the guy that has no capacity for any of this stuff. And again, my full-time job is I tell people I work for the M.S. Walker Wine and Spirits Company. I've actually been in the hospitality and restaurant business. I tell people I started in 1979, my freshman year in college, and I never got out of the business. So started with the restaurants, and at some point, I guess you're supposed to grow up and have some fun.
Tremendous career.
No,
outstanding.
It has been a great ride. People say, when are you going to retire? I don't think, probably like yourself, Marty, you can't retire. I just...
Never.
I don't know that person. There's only so much golf you can play, so much fishing you can do. Love to do all that stuff, but I couldn't do it 7 days a week. I'd lose my mind. So...
Well, you know what they say, Dave? When they get to be where we are, don't ever stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I also say to my friends, I said if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. So heaven knows it catches up to me. Let me check in with Tim, and do we have Shelley yet? Oh, well, we're getting there. Okay, hold on. We'll figure it out.
Dave, can I make a quick comment?
Sure, please.
Based on education, I think that was one of the greatest, and obviously being a Pembroke native myself and going through the elementary school and system and then Silver Lake Junior High before we left. It was probably one of the best moves Pembroke ever could have made.
Separating out? Yes. It's interesting. There's politics are a little hot right now. Election season's coming in.
Absolutely.
So we got to keep it. You got to keep it a little tighter. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah, the fun part is if you don't do this for a living, you have to realize the microphones have got to be right there.
Yep.
I said, we kind of fade away, so I apologize for that.
Better, Tim?
Yeah, just keep facing it right in front of it. Pretend it's your coffee cup or something,
Do we have Shelley on the line? Are we good to go?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. If I look to my other side.
Fantastic.
Modern technology here.
I'm learning. God knows I'm learning. That's why Paul only lets me do this once every couple of months. Shelley, are you with me, my dear?
I am. Good morning. How are you doing?
Oh, my God. Better now that I hear your voice. I was just telling my friend Marty, I said, this woman is the most fascinating person. I've got to meet you in person at some point.
Absolutely.
I just find you absolutely fascinating. I learn something every time. So I'm going to turn the show over to you, and let's see what you can do.
Good morning, Shelley.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, well, today I'm going to try to make this very simple, and we're going to talk about 5 things that you can do with your phone that's really just about making your life easier, right? I mean, let's be honest. As we're talking about technology today, a lot of technology feels like it's just made for someone else. There's too many buttons, too many apps, too many updates, too many ways to speak into a microphone, right? So with that, somewhere along the line, there starts to feel like we just don't understand all of it. And how do we do that? Well, today we are going to be cutting through all that And just, it isn't about the fancy apps or complicated setups. It's really about a few things that your phone can just actually do to make your life easier. So first, we're just going to start about voice to text. Stop typing and start talking. Personally, I love this. I use it all the time. It really started for me when I shattered my elbow a few years ago, but it's every phone now in your keyboard has a microphone. You can talk to your text. You can talk into the Google website, and you can ask questions, and it just makes your life a lot easier, right? It starts to change everything for you. The key, though, is going back and checking what it actually records before you send it along. So as you talk into your smartphone, again, it'll speak. You speak into it, it'll create the message. You can try something like, "Hi, I'll call you later today," and it types it all for you. But again, you just want to double check what it actually types out. Sometimes it does not get it fully clear. Again, you can use this for text messages. You can use this for emails. You can use this for taking notes. It is a game changer. Like I said, I absolutely love it. I use it all the time, especially I do a lot of walking, so I'm able to kind of walk and text at the same time while paying attention to actually nature. Then you have a flashlight on your camera already ready to go. You're not searching around the house when the lights go out. We're getting ready coming up on summer and these rainstorms that are coming. Sometimes you want to make sure you have a flashlight nearby. So something that's incredibly useful is that your phone has a built-in flashlight. The key is to remember to turn it off. So your apps, it's usually in your apps or your pull-down menu of your phone, and you just click it, and automatically you have a light. So that helps with not having to worry about where did I put that flashlight. I can find something under my seat. I can walk around outside at night and try to find something. Some people use it for reading in low light. Or I know a lot of times I use it just to be able to unlock my door when I come down my stairway. So it's always there for you. But the key with that is if you're going to use it, again, turn it off and remember that it will drain your battery, so you don't want to leave it on all the time. Call favorites is another one. Setting up your call favorites, it's one tap, no searching. Calling someone doesn't have to be complicated. Most phones will let you set up your favorite contacts, usually about 10 of them. So whether it's your spouse, your grandkids, your close friends, your own kids, it's a great way to just kind of set up so you're not scrolling through those hundreds of numbers, because I don't know about you. I know every time they transfer my phone and I update my phone, I end up they duplicate all my contacts. So it's a great way to just really set it up so you're not doing all that scrolling and trying to find that one person you're looking for. You only have to do it once, and it's ready for you to use every single day. We talk about maps and directions, and, not guessing, getting lost is part of driving, right? But we're not pulling out those old school maps anymore. You can use your phone to guide you. So many of those cars now have the displays where you can see the navigation system, so you can plug in your Google Maps or Apple Maps. You can also use Waze, which is another great app. The only downside with that one is if you're doing walking directions, it does not provide walking directions. But all of them give you turn-by-turn directions, traffic updates, estimated time arrivals. You can use it for public transportation. Even better, you can press one button and actually hear the directions out loud. No more guessing, no more pulling over, having to check a map. It's right there in your hands. The other thing is setting alarms and reminders. We've talked a little bit about this in the past, right? This is a great tool for setting alarms. You got to take medication. You got to set your alarms. I've been using it to try to remind myself to actually eat. I realized I didn't eat the other day. So it was like, oh, yeah, I should set an alarm to make sure I'm eating at a certain time during the day. Again, those are powerful tools that are right in our own hands. So the phone can remind us to do anything from doctor's appointments, medications, meetings, things you need to do. Just set the reminder once and take it away. Use it as your alarm clock at night, and you don't have to rely on that memory piece. So now we're going to jump into the tech myth of the week. The myth is, if I don't understand all of it, I shouldn't use it. Well, the truth is, you don't need to understand everything. You only need to learn the parts that will help you. Think of it like a car. You don't need to know how the engine works and all those pistons that are pumping. However, same on your phone. You just need to know what makes your life easier, and you can ignore the rest and use what you need and keep it simple for your own mind. Again, one simple mind shift tip that I would say is that technology isn't all or nothing. You don't have to master it. You can use it for one or two things that just make your life easier, like just being able to be on the phone today. So that's just a small start. to getting using those features. So again, your quick checklist for the week is try a voice to text, use your phone as a flashlight, set up your favorites in your contacts, use maps for your directions, or set a reminder this week. Pick one of these, not all 5, just test one, try it once or twice, see how it feels. Technology does not have to be overwhelming. It can actually make your life feel much simpler. So that is what we've got for the tech tip for the day. Simple tools, real life, no nonsense. And that's what I'm going to leave you with.
Well, as always, the favorites thing, the other things I'm pretty familiar with, although the alarms and reminders, I'm not that person. I honestly just started using Notes. I figured out how to do that, so I was so proud of myself. I think I'm becoming a high-tech person here.
There you go.
The one thing you didn't mention, I thought you would have, is the calendar. I live and die by the calendar on my phone. If it's not, like I tell people, if you're not on that thing, I don't. Like I said today, boom, I knew I had to be here, 12:08 start and, bright and early. But, I've got a 21-year-old daughter who doesn't use it. I'm thinking kids that age are so high-tech and so good at this stuff. And I don't know, Marty, your girls are, 23 and 21 or something? Or,
yep.
Do they use all these things?
They do. And actually, my wife, Susan, is a major, major proponent of voice texting, Shelley. And when she does not check what she sent me, I get some real beauties of messages.
And I bet you probably send it back lots of question marks.
No, I know. I'm used to it now.
Okay.
Shelley, let me ask you a question, though, with that. And I know everybody talks about AI. I would think my son's name is Liam, Liam. Every time I go to voicemail Liam, it autocorrects to William. And I'll get a little smart comment back like, Dad, don't you know my name? It's only been 19 years. And I'm like, oh, my God. But I said to myself, I'm texting a kid named Liam in the phone. I'm sending it to Liam. I'm like, hey, Liam, can I bring you home Panera or whatever? And it comes out as William. And I tell you 95% of the time. I would think the phone would teach itself. But is that not possible?
I would agree. Well, it is possible. It is possible, but it happens to me all the time. And I think sometimes it's just dependent on what we actually have recording. So you know how we've talked about what we turn off as different trackers and stuff like that. I think sometimes it's how we hear it. I think it's sometimes we're still training our devices and training that AI computer to really and bot to really understand the accents that we all carry, right? I mean, you Boston folks all have a very specific accent.
Yeah,
so,
I've been told I talk way too fast.
But the same thing happens to me all the time, and I wonder sometimes. I'm like, wait, I've said the same thing before. Why does it say like completely opposite of something I'm saying? And so I do think a lot of times it's how close are you to the phone? Does it seem like I know I talk really fast, and I think sometimes the phone really doesn't. It picks it up and just hears it differently. And then a few things I've started noticing in the last couple of weeks is that when I'm actually recording a voice text, a lot of times if I send it right away, if I wait a moment, it will actually self-correct itself on some things. So
yes.
I'm really curious about that one. I'm still trying to navigate that.
Well, Shelley, thank you so much. How do I say my listeners, I've already taken Paul's show over. How do our listeners get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the listeners can get a hold of us at info@podproentertainment.com. And I know you guys are talking about lots of fundraisers. You guys do so many fundraisers, and I just want to give another shout-out for tonight and remind folks that tonight and tomorrow at the North Shore Music Theater, I know that there's still a few tickets left to Curtains, which is going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to going, and it supports cancer research through Voices of Hope. So it's, a really important cause. And so I want to thank you guys for all the work that you guys do, and, looking forward to continuing to support more fundraisers out there as well.
Oh. That's outstanding. Thanks for taking care of us. You're wonderful. I look forward to whenever I get to fill in for Paul. You're my favorite part of the show. Sorry, Marty, you're only the guest host.
Hey.
So, hey, thank you so much.
I agree with you.
We'll catch you next week, and thank you again. You're wonderful.
Thank you, guys. Have a great show.
You
All
too.
right.
Be
Thanks,
well.
Shelley.
Be well.
As Paul's running joke here, it says, as my brother Arthur Boyle says, it's now time to make the donuts. It's time to pay some bills. So let's hear from our sponsors.
Have you tried Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Are you looking for fencing and outdoor products? Look no further than Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. When owner Mike Payne's customers have been asked why they chose Northeastern Fence, many said that there were 3 deciding factors: customer respect, excellent customer service, and quality products. I say that you need to add in 70-plus years of a family-run business with truly experienced sales and installation teams. So if you are in the market for fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors, please call Mike Payne and his crew at 781-233-3324 or email Mike at northeasternfence.com.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dave Boyle filling in for Paul Solano. As I said, we're back thanks to listening to Paul Ponders, presented by Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus, where they have fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors. If you want to call in or text the show, our number is 781-837-4900 or on the Odyssey app. Paul usually likes to give a shout-out to the nonprofits at paulponders.com. And if you want, listeners can go to paulponders.com to find subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as finding past Paul Ponders on WATD shows. Tomorrow night, Paul is dropping a podcast at midnight on YouTube with Joey Pianadosi and his son Jared of Pianadosi Baking Company of Malden. This is a rarity with a 3rd and 4th generation family members on the same podcast. I happen to know the Pianadosis personally. I teased Joey when I was a kid playing football at Malden High. We could smell the bread factory as you're at football practice, and all you could smell was bread, and you would crave it. And it was just one of those things. So I've always been able to tease him. Usually at this point, the program, we have a segment called Health and Wellness Survival Tips with Sharon Filiar. Not with us today, but Paul's given me the opportunity to reach out to one of my connections, and I am pleased to introduce, and I hope he's on the line, is Jack Curley. Jack, are you with me?
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Hey, let me do a little bit of an intro here. I've worked with Jack's father, John, for the last 35 years, one of the greatest guys I have never known in the business, a true gentleman. There is no one nicer, and I know the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Jack, say hello to my in-studio guest also, Marty Moran, who's a lawyer who might ask you some real technical questions. How's that?
Hey, Jack. How you doing?
You?
Not bad. How about yourself?
Doing good.
Well, I was telling people I've been excited about doing this show. I think I reached out to you about 6 weeks ago. You've written one book and you're working on another, if I have it right. I've actually got the book right in front of me here, and it's so cool. I love the title. Didn't get much sleep last night. My life as a touring DIY film roadshow. One, you're a Kingston kid, grew up in Kingston. You're living where now, in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I'm over in Reading, which is about an hour west of Philly.
Oh, I always thought it was pronounced Reading, so what do I know? All right, here's the question. Were you actually, is Jack, I see it spelled J-A-K, was that the birth certificate name, or is that like the cool writer?
No, the birth certificate name is actually John, after my father. But
there you go.
They, I guess it was just too confusing having two Johns around the house. They didn't really think that one through, I guess.
Yeah, well, and going through life called Junior doesn't always kind of fit too much. But all right, so fill me in. Kid from Kingston. You know, I've read. I'm not gonna lie. I've read a good portion of the book. I find it absolutely fascinating. I'm a diehard reader. Tell me, or tell the audience the premise of what you were trying to do, what you were trying to get accomplished. I mean, it just sounds like a life well traveled. And how old are you, Jack? Let me ask that question first.
Yeah, I just turned 34 last month.
Oh, my God. I hate to say, I think I met you when you were about 10 or 12, but yeah. I don't want to embarrass either you or I. But so tell the listeners, what was the basis of the book? And again, a kid coming out of Kingston and having these kind of the world travels, I think is just amazing.
Yeah, so the inspiration for it kind of came from, I'm familiar with the hardcore band Black Flag. They were like a punk band from the 80s, quite big, quite influential. One of their singers, this fellow Henry Rollins, now he's a spoken word artist, really, really fun guy to listen to. He wrote a book, basically, what touring on the road with this band was like. And this band is unique because they weren't playing concert venues. They're playing all kinds of they're playing function halls. They're playing in the street. They're playing wherever they can, basically. And kids are coming and they're showing up to shows and it's getting crazy. And he wrote this famous memoir about that experience called "Get in the Van," which is the title for that is basically how he joined the band. Is he auditioned to sing and like, all right, get in the van, we're going on tour. And it's about these long sleepless. They're driving 6-7 hours between. They're not sleeping. Basically, no money. Living off of gas station food. And as I was reading it, I was like, this kind of aligns with my own life where I was hard screenings, and I'm doing, not doing film screenings at movie theaters or anything like that. I was doing movie screenings at coffee shops, and we did one in a racquetball court one time, and I did one in a cave in South Dakota, and there was 30 people there. So it was I kind of was able to identify the similarities between how they toured and how I toured. That they Black Flag really kind of laid the foundation for this DIY aspect of touring, how to do it yourself, where you just book your own show, you get a show wherever you can get, you don't even have to work, don't even worry about money, you just go and be broke and be on the road. And I kind of took the inspiration from his book and how he formatted telling his story, and I took that format and applied it to my story.
Now, for lack of a better term, are you still doing this? Is this what you do? Or I don't joke and say you have a real job, not that the other one wasn't a real job. But
I do have a full-time job now. I kind of stopped on the touring. I did it for about 5 years, in between, when I was in between jobs or if I was on a break from work, stuff like that. And, I just feel like after 5 years, I'd done it so much. I'd gone to so many different places. I was like, I'm going to, I decided to turn my attention more towards making films and stuff instead of just going around screening them.
Now, I have to admit, I don't picture Reading, Pennsylvania as a real film metropolis. It's not like Hollywood mentioned in the same breath. How do we end up in Reading, Pennsylvania from Kingston?
No, not quite. I ended up here because I got a job with the professional hockey team here as a Flyers minor league affiliate.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the creative director here, but it was great. It's great being near Philly because there's a lot of, I primarily do music videos.
Okay.
There's a lot of really good bands in Philly, which, again, like I said, it's only an hour away, so I'm able to find a lot of different people to collaborate with. And, I'm also 2 hours from New York City. I can find, there's bands up there I can work with, and even, I think DC is close to like 3 hours, so the network, there's just, it's just a kind of good middle spot to kind of network all throughout the Mid-Atlantic.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, how long did it take you to write the book? It's very unique if you read the book. It's kind of broken down by the day, so to say like, March 18th and this type, again, it was fascinating. I started reading and then I made the cardinal mistake of trying to read two books at the same time, and I can't do that. That's just not a good thing for me to do. I have the attention span of a flea. But I just thought it was... It sounds weird to say very well written. I'm not sure if my English teacher would have said that, but I just thought it was really cool, easy to read, comfortable. But how long did it take you, Jack?
Well, it's kind of one thing. Again, I read Get in the Van over the pandemic, and I was like, let me take my shot at this. And so I started writing. I basically just sat down. I just started writing everything I remembered from my memory because I think I have quite a good memory. So
Apparently,
I started writing everything I remembered that it happened, or at least. If that's not what happened, at least what I thought happened. And I just started writing. I just didn't stop until it was done. And I was like, well, I guess, I put it out and I was like, all right, well, maybe, 10 or 15 friends will find this interesting. And, I ended up selling quite a few copies to people I don't know or, people that were friends of the bands that I've worked with and stuff like that. So that's been really cool to kind of see it grow beyond what I really thought would happen with it.
All right, now let me ask you a question. You're working on a second book, and is this the same type of like I almost want to call it like Steinbeck did Travels with Charlie, that kind of thing, and I'm showing my age here referencing John Steinbeck. But is it a sequel type thing, or is it a completely different, I know you sent me the link. I honestly didn't get a chance to do that. I'm not going to lie to you. I wish I was that, smart. But fill me in on the second book.
Yeah, So again, the first one's called Didn't Get Much Sleep Last Night. The second one is called My First 50 Flicks, which is actually also a reference to a Black Flag album called The First 4 Years. And the idea behind the second book was I wanted to talk more about filmmaking and about the things that I made than like the travel. So like the first one's more of a travel memoir, and the second one, I basically go through the first 50 music videos I made and kind of talk about how we made them or what was going through our mind, what we're aiming to accomplish when we made this. And each video is accompanied with a singular shot or singular frame from each video. So it's kind of like, what you got a full page print of a shot from the video and then like a description next to it. And we do that for 50 music videos. I think it goes from like 2011 or 12 through like 2019.
Oh my heavens! Yeah, well, I'm going to look forward to reading that one. We're going to be on for a couple of minutes, to say the least, and I hope you can stay for what I call after the break. How does someone get the book? Is there a chance to kind of push it? Do they call your cell number and you mail it to them, or is it on Amazon? Or you tell me.
Yes, I've got it on my website. It's www.shibbipictures. It's www.shibby.pictures, SHIBBY.pictures, or shibbipictures.com, SHIBBY pictures. I also, on Instagram, I've got links to where you can order both of the books. The second one comes out next month. We have a release show in Philadelphia on May 22nd, and I'm actually going to pick up the books later today, from my friend. They just got delivered.
Fantastic. And just for the listeners, it's Jack, J-A-K, Curley, Kerley. I'm sure people would be looking under you, Curley. Marty, you have a question.
Yeah, Jack, did I see that it's in its third printing?
Yeah, so I actually think Didn't Get Sleep might be on. I'm on the fourth. The fourth is the one that's actually I'm going to pick up right now.
Okay.
Fourth, how many books?
I guess congratulations in order.
Hey, definitely. How many books are in a printing? I'm a little naive to this.
You're good. I usually kind of just make it up as I go how many printings I do. So, like, when I originally did like 100, and then my friend was like, "Oh, you're gonna want to order that?" Because I told like sales only like something. But she's like, "Yeah, you'll sell more when people see it." And I was like, "All right." So, and I do like another 100, and since then I kind of do in just like chunks of 50 to 100, depending on how many I think I'm going to need.
Huh. That's absolutely amazing. I am so impressed. And I've actually got a copy. But the next time I see you in person, you have to autograph it for me, because that makes me a collector. Okay, so that's going to be the key part. Hey, let's do this. I've got to take a break. Can you hang on with us for a little bit, and we'll talk to you in a few more minutes? You might be on hold for probably a minute and a half or 2 minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's all good.
Perfect. I hope you're having fun. This is great, and it's a lot of fun. I know your dad's listening, so I better say a shout-out to your dad. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
All right, here we go. We're going to break for some commercials, and we'll be back shortly. Thanks, and hang on.
Have you tried Brianville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Brianville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Brianville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Brianville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Are you looking for fencing and outdoor products? Look no further than Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. When owner Mike Payne's customers have been asked why they chose Northeastern Fence, many said that there were 3 deciding factors: customer respect, excellent customer service, and quality products. I say that you need to add in 70-plus years of a family-run business with truly experienced sales and installation teams. So if you are in the market for fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors, please call Mike Payne and his crew at 781-233-3324 or email mike@northeasternfence.com.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Boyle filling in for Paul Solano. I am having a wonderful time. I've got my good friend Marty Moran in the studio audience here with me, and we're talking to a friend of mine, Jack Curley. Full disclosure, Jack is my dear friend's son who wrote a book, is writing a second book, and it's fascinating. And Marty, you had a question at the break, and I think it's a good one.
Hey, Jack. Believe it or not, I played lead guitar in a rock band in high school back in the 70s, okay? And I was just curious, after writing your first book and now getting the second book going, have your tastes in music changed or evolved at all?
I would say, yeah, actually. It's kind of interesting. In like punk music specifically, which is where a lot of my video work is done, I started with like, some of the bigger stuff like and Blink-182, like that kind of like mainstream punk stuff. And as you kind of listen to those bands, to their influences, that's when you get into like Black Flag and Minor Threat and The Clash and stuff like that. And it's kind of just a slippery slope. You just keep going further and further down the rabbit hole. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I've kind of come back up that rabbit hole, and I'd say early pop music now. It's kind of like completely gone the other direction with it, where I listen to like Olivia Rodrigo and Lorde and stuff like that. But that kind of comes from me finding that a lot of what I listened to in that music when I was a kid was just good lyrics. And so I'd say anything I listen to now, I'm really just listening for good lyrics and clever songwriting and like authentic, basically.
Cool.
It's kind of funny to hear that your taste did change, but I'll put a plug out. I don't know if you're familiar with a gentleman up here, big on the Boston radio scene, named Carter Allen. Worked for BCN for years, ZLX, and he wrote a series of books, but one was on U2, Outsiders America, which I think is fascinating. He saw them play the Paradise as the warm-up band for, I don't know who the headliner was, but Carter, I've known Carter going back to, I want to say 1983 or 84, and he kept saying to me, Dave, you got to see this band. It was U2. And I said, who the heck is U2?
I will follow. I will follow.
Yeah, well, they did a bunch of stuff, and then he did, I think, a book on Dickie Betts, and I forget, but he's done probably 3 or 4. Now, let me ask you a question. He was super disciplined. Carter used to get up every day at like 5 o'clock and he'd say, okay, I'm going to write from 5 to 7. That was like his thing to do. And he did it every day for like a year, on the first book, or maybe 2 years. Were you that disciplined, or you said were you just sitting in a van and kind of writing notes and saying, let's see what happens?
Yeah, I was kind of just making it up as I go. It's a boring thing I did over the pandemic to kind of entertain myself and fill my time, and more just for like my own personal record keeping, that maybe one day I would go and look back on. And then as I'm getting through, I'm like, this is kind of cool. I'm like, maybe I'll just print a copy for myself to have like a physical. Then I'm like, well, maybe I'll print 10 copies because I know, I'll send them to people that were there and will think it's cool. And then I'm kind of like, well, I might as well just post it and see how many people want to buy it. And then after I all of them, I guess I'll just do a real printing of this,
Now, let me ask you, you said you're the creative director for the, I'm trying to think of the name, is the Monarchs? Is that the Phillies team in the minor league team?
Reading Royals.
Royals, I'm sorry. Okay, I was close. Royal, Monarch, and some of the same thing. Do you see yourself going more towards the video side? You want to write more books? I mean, I know you just did number 2, but do you see yourself, like, you fascinated by this, line of work, and or again, just a hobby or a 1 or 2 time thing and you're done?
Yeah, I'm just kind of content with any sort of creative output. Like whatever makes me a living is fine. But I'm kind of just to continue making stuff and sharing it with people, however that is. Even my job, I see that as an extension of getting create stuff and share it with people, because I'm making graphics and making videos and stuff, and it's going on a video board in front of thousands of people for every game, and that's equally as fulfilling as sharing with people.
Now, should I speculate you're probably big on social media and all the things that I don't totally understand, that I'm not good at, and I have no desire to do because I'm not that smart? Is that kind of, I joke, I have an older brother that does a website. He does all sorts of fitness training. And I think at one point when he first started, he told me he was making $25,000 a month off his website with people buying everything from, workout gear to videos and the whole thing. Do you see yourself kind of going that path, as crazy as it sounds?
I don't know. I don't really think so. It's just so hard to make money as an artist. And I feel like if you're going about art to try to make money, then maybe you're not doing it for the right reasons. So I just try not to have that approach to it. I try not to aim for anything. And so to really, I try to make it and just be fulfilled by it, and that's my reward. And so, if I get anything out of it monetarily, that's kind of just an additional bonus, I guess.
That's like a breath of fresh air, because most people now want to invent the next big thing, and they want to be that person that said, I started this, or I'll be honest with you, I can't stand every time someone says, so-and-so's a influencer or a YouTube, and I'm like saying, what in heaven's name does that mean? And then why would you listen to someone who you don't know, that doesn't know your taste, whatever? So it's a breath of fresh air. Let me ask, if you could say one story, like, again, I've worked rock concerts for 47 years now, and people always say to me, what was the best one you ever worked, or who's the best person you ever met? Do you have like one story that you just love to tell people?
A good one I did was when we were on tour, and it's in the book, available now. We were doing a screening at a squat in which I think is in Croatia. And just a little background on that: a squat is essentially an abandoned building that people live in, and I think because of the regulations in Europe, you can kind of not get messed with for living there if you're kind of doing something to maintain the property in some way.
Yeah.
Not fully sure on that, so don't hold me to that.
Nope.
But, it's this group, there's about 40 people that live there or something. And it's interesting. So they have electricity, and I was like, how do you guys get this electricity if you're not hooked up to a grid or anything? And I saw a generator. I was like, I was like, wow, all this is powered off of a generator? They're like, oh, no, the generator's empty. We just run it as a distraction because they're borrowing electricity from another nearby property. And so it's just a dummy generator that's running. And there's kind of again, this mutual understanding with these people, and it's like a big complex. And, some people are supposed to be there, some people aren't, where they're talking about basically they basically kind of let them stay there, but they still will kind of get messed with by the security guards.
Yeah.
And chased away. And we ended up getting chased by security guards at one point, and they were flashing their tasers at us.
Oh gosh.
And it's we're running through these abandoned warehouse in the dark, and it's the taser flash is going off, and it's illuminating the room real quick, flash, flash, flash. And I'm just I don't want to go to prison in Croatia, please. But we made it away. I don't know if they would have caught us or if they're just trying to intimidate us or what, but that was a pretty crazy thing. That was I think that was actually before our film screening even that night too.
Well, that leads me to another question then. How many countries have you visited?
I think I've been to 70-something countries. I'm not sure the exact numbers. Around 70, though.
All right, let me just be a homeboy here for a minute. Have you been in all 50 states?
I have been to all 50 states.
You have? That's fascinating.
Yep, that's something.
All right, let me ask you, who's got the best underground scene? You'll always hear different things that, probably I'm going to speculate New York, but I'll let you be the judge of that.
Yeah, I mean, if I'd have to be a little bit of a homer and say Philly, because Philly's got a lot of different places bands can play. There's a lot of really good bands that are in there, and kind of in the region too, Southeast Pennsylvania's got a lot of great stuff.
Really?
But also, I know, L.A. in particular too. There's a couple of great organizations that put on these crazy unauthorized outdoor shows where you'll get hundreds of people showing up and going crazy, and that's awesome too.
So now, was this, and again, I'm probably showing my age here, is this all part of what they would call a rave culture where, you just have hundreds of people show up, to see a band or to see somebody? There seems to be so many bands that are, and I say respectfully, coming out of nowhere. Before you had to tour, and then you had to hope a record company took you, and then you have to hope you had the promoter, and then, what I call the right single. And that's probably more mainstream, radio.
Yeah.
But you talk about these places. Again, I always remember there was a band that came out of my hometown years ago called Boys Life. Do you remember them? A punk band?
No, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, there was a couple of brothers, kids I went to school with. Their last name was Surratt, and they were kind of one of the first incarnations. I mean, my first view of what they call it, punk music was The Clash. I think that's what pretty much anyone knew. And then you get some spin-offs from there, but I still kind of think they're the original. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so Boys Life. The first time I kind of heard them, I was like, okay, But then it was funny. I went to a high school with a kid. Actually went to kindergarten with him. Had a #1 hit on Billboard. A band called Extreme out of I don't know if you know those guys. And again, there's a big age gap. I'm roughly 30 years older than you, so I could be talking ancient history. Hopefully, your dad's nodding his head and recognizes some of these bands. But around here, you used to go to the Rat. You'd go to the Channel. Marty helped me out. There was a couple of those, the Paradise. Those were all the big places in Boston, and you'd get to see some really cool bands. And even now, a
lot of them in their infancy.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call them punk bands, but like the Dropkick Murphys around here have got this, I call it a cult following, for heaven's sake. They probably do 10 or 15 shows just on St. Patrick's Day week.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And everyone sells out. So it works out pretty good.
Like a real working class. That's like a real band.
Yeah.
Even they obviously sell a huge shows that make a ton of money, but those are just real regular guys that have a reputation in the punk scene.
Yeah, well, when you do a song called "Shipping Off to Boston," that's not a bad, kind of theme or anthem to have around here. Who was the other band? They were probably a little more ska band. But was it the Mighty Mighty Bosstones? Does that ring a bell? Or I might be showing my age here, Jack.
No, you're right. You're right. That was another Boston band.
There we go. Right? See, I'm doing good. That's I remember my nephew said to me one day, Paul McCartney used to be in a band. And I was like, yeah, I guess
no
so.
kidding.
Hey, Jack, quick question. When you were talking about, excuse me, how your interests may have changed or evolved with music, and you mentioned Olivia Rodrigo. You recall? You mentioned Olivia Rodrigo. Yep. My daughters, really, really follow her. But didn't she? And I could be completely mistaken because I do not. But didn't she basically get famous off the internet?
Yeah. So it's funny. My understanding of how so I didn't really know who she was until someone posted a song. I listened to it. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Who is this? Is this some bedroom pop kid out of Chicago or something that just made this really cool? It's like a lot of her songs, it's like grungy rock and straight rock and roll songs, Costello type stuff.
Yeah,
Nirvana, even some of it. And I look up, and then so I listen to another song. I'm like, oh, this is like a pop song. Who is this? And I look it up. I'm like, oh, this is like a Disney Channel kid. But I do think, I think she started on Disney Channel and stuff like that, and then kind of started her own music career from that. And she writes good songs and people like that. So now these rock and roll type songs, Avril Lavigne type songs. I just think it's super cool that mainstream is doing guitar driven rock music. And
hey, well, Jack, I've got to wind this down. But again, how can people get the book or the books? Give yourself a shout out there, and let's see what we can do.
Yeah, they can just look me up on Instagram, and the link in my bio there will have links to where you can order, or if you're in the Philly area for some reason, come and hit up our release show on May 22nd. But you can find me on the internet anywhere. Pictures, SHIBBY Pictures. You can find me. It's pretty easy.
Unbelievable. Well, hey, Jack, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. You were absolutely fascinating. I love the book. Again, I'm a big fan of your mom and dad. Super nice people. I'm glad to hear you're doing so well. And I love to hear a guy that's kind of like living his dream. You're doing it your way, and I couldn't be more proud of you. I hope the next time you're back up in the Boston area to see mom and dad, I get a phone call and I can meet you for a cold beer or a glass of wine and get a chance to say hello.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a million. I will talk to you again soon. Take care, buddy.
Jack, continued success.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. What a great kid. Marty, closing thoughts. What do you think? Hope you had fun.
Oh, kidding me? Had a blast.
Fast 1 hour, isn't it?
Very fast.
Yeah.
And I can't wait till the next one.
We'll do another one. Tim, behind the glass, thank you as always. Everyone have a wonderful Saturday. Stay safe. It's marathon week, so please be careful, be kind, and do something nice for somebody. Take care.
Listeners can go to paulponders.com to find subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as finding past Paul Ponders on WATD shows. Special thanks to Arthur, Shelley, Jack, and our advertisers, but really thank you to you, listeners in WATD world and beyond. Stay tuned for the Memories with Ron Dwyer, the grand poobah of oldies rock and roll. All coming up right here on WATD.